Hey everybody, it's PJ from Wisconsin Airgunners, and I am outside on the new Wisconsin Airgunners backyard range here in Florida. And I'm here to talk today about a new rifle to the channel, and that is the Airgun Technology, or AGT, Vixen. This is the compact model in 177 caliber. This came my way from my friends at Utah Airguns, and I'd like to thank them for sponsorship of this video. This video is going to be just a little bit different because of the way the rifle came to me. I was talking to the guys there during the Rocky Mountain Airgun Challenge and talking about my interest in this particular rifle, which they had on the wall of "do not touch this air rifle," which technically is pretty much every wall at Utah Airguns. But the Vixen is one that I've had my eye personally on for quite some time, and this is the kind of rifle that ticks a lot of boxes for me. It is compact. I mean, you can see just how small it is. It is lightweight, but has a really robust feel to it, so it feels very strong. Now, because of the circumstances that have brought this rifle to me, I've actually had the opportunity to be on the inside of it, and I can tell you that mechanically, it is really a simplistic internal design. Like only a handful of O-rings throughout the whole thing, which to me speaks to fewer failure points, which I think is a potential big plus. So what I want to talk first, and again, this is an unusual place to start what is going to be a series of review videos, is how this airgun gets tuned. Now, when this rifle came to me, no matter what I did, it was shooting between 460 and I think I got it up to about 510 feet per second. Now that's with JSB 10.3 grain pellets. I did put some 8.4 grain pellets into it, and I want to say I got some velocities closer to 540, but that's well below the spec'd power for this airgun, and definitely not what I expected, and not what I was going to need in order to be able to take this rifle and do any hunting with it. And definitely in this form factor, this screams to me, I mean, it does scream, let's go out in the back and plink. And honestly, it was super accurate in that 500 foot per second range. And if you were just looking for it as a plinker, it was super quiet. You got shots for days. I mean, like, seriously, I was shooting mag after mag, and it seemed like it was barely moving the air gauge at all. But that's really not the gun that I anticipated doing a review on. So I set about to retune, and no matter what I did on the tune, I just couldn't get that velocity up until I took a look at this port right here. So if you get one of these and it seems to be in the like German level of power setting, like well under sub 12, like really low power, what's probably happened is there is a brass restrictor under this screw. So what you need to do is, and I don't think it's essential to degas it first, but I was degassing the gun anyway. So I did degas it, and I'll come back to that in a moment. But you take this off, okay? Just unthread that. Be cautious because there is a very small O-ring under there. And once you have that, you need an M4 threaded screw, Allen, whatever. You'll see there's a brass threaded plug basically in there. You're going to thread that M4 screw in, and then using like a pliers, or depending on how yours is in there, it's kind of press fit. So really all you're doing is pulling it out. You're not really unthreading it or anything. It's a press fit. You've already seen a picture of what this all looks like because I'll be editing that in. But you pull that out, and as soon as I pulled that out, it really opened up the power potential. As far as tuning the rifle goes, I'm going to put this on the, it's not a super convenient rifle to tune. And so I make this tuning guide so that if you decide you want to tune a little bit, you can, but I would not look at this as an air gun that was designed to be tuned. It has an internal regulator, which means you're going to have to basically disassemble the gun at least partially in order to get to the regulator. And the regulator itself is not marked with any, well, no numbers. So you're making some estimations as to how much you're changing the regulator pressure. And once you've changed the regulator pressure, there's no gauge for the regulator. So you're really kind of left guessing. Now, there are some people who will look at that and say, well, that's a con as far as this gun goes. I would encourage you to look at it as this really isn't an air gun that was designed for the end user owner to do a lot of tuning on. They do make the hammer spring adjustment accessible. So within the set regulator pressure, adjusting the hammer spring to get some increase or decrease in velocity is super easy and very doable, and we'll talk about that in turn. But it is really not built as a let's make a lot of adjustments on the regulator. There are other companies that do that, obviously, and that's just not where AGT fell with this gun. So let's talk about what you actually have to do if you're going to tune it. So on the right hand side of the rifle, there's this little screw right here. There is a it's I think a 2mm Allen. Put that in there, turn it counterclockwise, you'll immediately hear air start coming out of the gun. So that's your degassing. My advice is you crack that open and then you go somewhere else for a few minutes while the gun depressurizes. This is a fairly small air tank, and it's crazy to me to think just how many shots you get out of this gun on what's really a small air tank. The rifle itself is set up for a 300 bar fill. Most of the time I was working with this the other day, I was filling it to 200 bar and just shooting it down because I knew I was going to be draining it a lot. I probably had this gun at least tank off apart at least a dozen, it could have been 20 times to make my adjustments. It's easy to do, but you want to let the gun drain slowly, and you want to let the gun drain completely. Once it's completely drained, you simply back off this tank. There is no valve on the tank. It's a straight in, like you can look in with a flashlight. You drain it and then take the tank off. What you want to avoid is like partially draining it and then getting impatient, I guess I'd say, and turning this off too soon. That will cause, there is an O-ring here that's sealing the bottle to the neck where it threads in. That'll cause stress on that O-ring, and if you tear that O-ring, now you're replacing an O-ring before you get back together. So very easy to take this off once the gun is empty, and once it's empty, what you're going to see is right under here, I'm going to throw a picture of it, you're going to see this brass screw coming out of the threaded collar, and that's your regulator. Just like every other regulator that I'm aware of, certainly most of the air guns that are popular in the industry right now, when you close it, you're turning the regulator pressure down, and when you're backing it out, you're turning the regulator up. So clockwise is decreasing regulator pressure, and counterclockwise is increasing regulator pressure. Now there's no way to alter the regulator pressure while the gun is under pressure. So you have to drain it, but then once it's drained, you don't have any worries about, can I go this way or can I go that way? I have, in my testing, I have shot this this gun with the regulator, what is essentially all the way open. I'll show you a picture of what the regulator looks like in that situation. I've shot it kind of halfway in. Show you a picture of that. And then I've shot it almost all the way closed. Show you a picture of that. And what I found, which is what I'm shooting it set at right now, is that you don't have to open the regulator very much. And there's a couple of great sweet spots I found where you'll get really good results. Now, I'm not sure that what I would call a final setting is what I have today, but I'm at a pretty consistent spot at the velocity that I want to be. So what I did was I closed it pretty much all the way down, which just about has the regulator flush with the body. And I opened it about a half turn, gassed it back up. It was a little bit high from where I wanted it to be. So I would drain it, turn it back down, shoot it, drain it, turn it back, until I got to the point where I think, based on watching the gauge when I'm shooting and where I start falling off the regulator, I think I've got the regulator set at about, I would say, between 120 and 110 bar. It could be just a little bit lower than that, but I'm going to show you a picture right now of where that screw is sitting, just in case that's of any interest to you. So in the end, my advice is you probably don't need to do anything with the regulator if it's tuned from the factory. You might want to remove that restrictor depending on how the rifle is sent to you from whichever dealer you're working or whatever part of the world you're in. And I suppose, because I know some people watching this aren't in the US, you may want to check your local regulations about power output on air guns, because I'd hate for you to do anything on my instruction that would get you into any kind of trouble. So know your local regulations and make sure you're staying within those to avoid the worst of things. So once you have a regulator pressure set, you're going to start paying attention to the hammer spring adjuster. And that guy lives under this part of the grip. Now they've sent this out with this nice beaver tail style AR grip. This is a standard AR grip. You can put any AR grip you want on there. To adjust the hammer, you need to take this off. So 5mm Allen goes in there, grip comes off, and then I'll throw a picture up here. There's a little set screw under there. And if you're gonna make an adjustment on this air gun, this might be the most important thing I say in this video. You have to loosen the set screw before you can start twisting on this little wheel here. If you don't, that metal is gonna be digging in there and you're gonna create a host of problems for yourself. So grip off, loosen the set screw. You don't have to take it all the way out, just loosen it a little bit. And then you can pretty freely roll this right okay, clockwise to make the hammer spring tighter to increase velocity, and left to reduce velocity or loosen the hammer spring. And what I would recommend you do when you get to any set regulator pressure is loosen the hammer spring, like bring it out a little bit, shoot it, shoot 3, 4, 5 shots, look at what the chronograph result is, tighten it, shoot it. If you see that the feet per second is going up, you just keep going until you get to your desired level. Now, if you get to your desired level and increasing the hammer spring continues to raise the velocity, you could afford to, in this case, degas the gun and back off on the regulator. If there is still room for velocity to increase with more hammer spring, you may not be at the best balance point. And so you have to make a decision. Do I want to go through, in this case, a little bit of trouble, but do I want to go through that in order to reduce the velocity? And when I say I spent like all afternoon and degassed and regassed the rifle, that's why, because I wanted to get to that point where I was pushing the hammer spring right up about until the point where if I pushed it a little more, velocity started to drop. That front edge of that curve is where you're going to get the best balance and usually the most efficiency. So move that hammer spring up. If you get to a point where you're starting to see velocity drop, that's too much hammer spring for that given regulator pressure. If you want the velocity to continue, you're going to have to up the regulator pressure. If it's going down and you're like, I'm not using a lot of hammer, then I would go down on regulator pressure and continue to push forward. So once that's done, you just tighten that set screw and then put your grip back on, and your rifle should be ready to go. As far as the loading goes, love these magazines. These are very solid feeling. It is the style of magazine where you're going to rotate and then drop a pellet through head first, rotate, drop a pellet through head first. Once it's all loaded up, it actually goes in upside down and with this keyed section forward. So it loads from the right. The rifle can be configured either in a right-hand cock or a left-hand cocking format. It is a fairly easy swap. If you want to swap it, the first thing you're going to do is put an Allen wrench in there and then back this off. So that's removed. Very easy to take that off. Then you have a little Allen. It's like a threaded post. So you're going to unthread that. And then, interestingly, you have a Torx screw right there that has to come out. So once you have those three removed, this guy, and this guy, turn it over and you take off this plate. 2 screws there, set that aside, and then you're going to drop that post in there. You're going to screw that Torx on right there. It actually screws like right into the bolt mechanism. And then you put this on, but it's going to go upside down. And so switching from left-handed to right-handed is super straightforward. Like I said, 3 screws and you're ready to go. I've got this sighted at about 10-15 yards with a red dot. Not the final optic that's going to go on this gun, but one I had lying around the shop. And for the quick bit of tuning work I was going to do, it made for a really good choice. But like I said, this will be replaced. You'll see something different in the next video. I've got something special coming, so hopefully that'll work out. But what I want to do is throw a target down range with the red dot. I'm only going to shoot it about 15 yards, but I want to give you just a little bit of a taste of how accurate this rifle is, keeping in mind red dot, and I'm going to be shooting offhand for this. We'll do some target work once I get an optic on here in a future video, and we'll stretch that out to at least 30 yards and maybe even beyond that. So I'm going to get a camera set up and I'll be right back with you. All right, we're at 15 yards. This is going to be unsupported with the red dot, and we'll see what she can do. The cocking action is really smooth. Safety. Not bad for 5. Got 3 more in this mag. All right, let me go down and take a look at that. I'll be right back. All right, I know this low shot, I dragged the gun down, so I would maybe discount that. Looking at it, I'm not sure. I don't actually remember how many shots I fired. It was either 9, 10, or 11. But for offhand with a red dot, not too bad. I can't wait to see what she can do under magnified conditions, because I'm in that category of people where not always easy to shoot either open sights or even red dots at small targets. But there'll be plenty more coming on the Vixen. So I looked at the footage from the shooting I did yesterday, which you just saw, and pulled the gun out of the bag today to rerun some chronograph numbers and just confirm that everything is exactly where I wanted and thought it to be, and realized that when I was shooting yesterday on film, I was shooting down off the regulator, and since I didn't think that was necessarily a fair reflection on the rifle itself, I am reshooting at 15 yards. I've got a camera downrange to record, and I'm going to flip this so you can watch on the chronograph. So let's take a look at the chronograph here. Remember, while we're only at 15 yards, it is a red dot with no magnification. So 5-shot group, 11 foot per second spread, average is 836, which is exactly where it was a couple of days ago when I last had it on the chronograph. And let's go down and take a peek at that group. Remember, everybody, red dot. And my eyes are not what they once were. Initial thoughts, the trigger feels very AR-like, which is going to be familiar for a lot of people. You have that kind of simple blade design. It does have some adjustment, but I don't see for a hunting trigger any reason to do that. The cocking is light, and definitely from a noise perspective, it is absolutely backyard friendly. It's 4th of July here today, and there are fireworks going off all over the place. I don't know if you could hear any of them in the background. There goes one right there. But those lightweight firecrackers are definitely louder than this is. I've got a pellet trap set up on the range here, and a 177 is awesome for backyard shooting because you can literally shoot all day, and it's very easy to make that safe. So that even in I'm in an unincorporated area, but definitely suburban, there's no question that I'm able to, when I have a gun I can trust, take shots safely. And being able to hit targets like this at this distance is awesome for a bit of backyard plinking fun, and nice that you don't have to go out to the range. So stay tuned for the next video where we put an optic on this and really see what she's capable of at, like I said, at least 30 and maybe even 50 yards. And then with a little bit of luck and everything going well, we will be able to get out to do some pest control with this down in South Florida where iguanas are an issue. Little secret, I did, when I got home yesterday with this all set up, I did have an opportunity to take a shot at this range at a squirrel that was up in a tree. I was able to brace myself on taking that shot. It was right at the edge of what I felt comfortable with based on where this red dot is zeroed. And it was a beautiful shot, took it right down. And Maverick and I were able to pair up on a recovery on this guy. So Maverick loves to have a shot, well, not a shot, a chance to get in on the hunting action. So until the next video, everybody, shoot safe, shoot straight, and we'll see you around. Thanks.